Saturn. Jakob Lorber. Chapter 1. The actual name and description of Saturn. The double ring and moons of Saturn. The magnificence of divine revelation. In order to have a clear concept of this planetary body, which you call Saturn, it is important to know what its actual name denotes. Earth calmness, world nothingdom. It is also absolutely necessary to learn about its natural sphere, its distance from the Sun, its size, structure, its inhabitants, as well as the inhabitants on the rings and moons, as well as its diverse vegetation, in accordance with the conditions that prevail because of distinctly varying climates. Furthermore, a description of all the animals that exist on this planet, its rings and moons. Once all the above-mentioned details about Saturn have been properly explained, will the history of this planet, its inner structure and polarity to other planets, and finally, the spiritual sphere, be analyzed. As far as the distance of Saturn from the Sun is concerned, 3 different points of view can be adopted. The reason for this is well known. There is not one planet whose orbit is on a completely circular course. Instead, a planetary orbit around the Sun is like an ellipse, where the Sun is in relationship to the orbit of a planet, similar to an egg with the obtuse part downwards and the acute part facing upwards. In this position, the egg yolk will not be in the center of the egg. Instead, it will be considerably closer to the bottom, the obtuse part. Let us assume that the central egg yolk represents the Sun and the periphery of the eggshell, the orbit of the planet. If you measure the distance from the periphery of the center of the Sun, in this instance the egg yolk, you will have the following results. The center of the Sun is closest to the periphery at the lowest part. At the girth, the distance is at a middle distance, whereas at the upper tip, the distance is the greatest from the center of the Sun. The same applies to the orbit of Saturn around the Sun. When Saturn is at the lowest point, the distance to the Sun is only 187,719,120 geographic miles. Note 1. 1 geographic mile equals 7.420 kilometers. An Austrian mile equals 7.586 kilometers. When Saturn's orbit is at about the girth, the distance is already 198,984,136 geographic miles. And at the top of the distance from the center of the Sun is 210,249,152 geographic miles. And the latter distance is, of course, the greatest from the Sun. These distances are not measured from the Earth, but from the Sun. The distance of the Earth in relationship to Saturn can vary tremendously, even to the extent that these 2 celestial bodies could be closer to each other by 1 million geographic miles. And then again, they could be farther apart by 1 million geographic miles. when it should happen that both these planets are on one and the same side from the Sun, then both planets are in the proximity to the Sun. In this position, they are much closer to each other's proximity than when they are in opposition, where it can occur that Saturn is the farthest from the Sun, whereas the Earth on the opposite side could be closest to the Sun. When that occurs, the difference is not only 1 million, but often 2 to 3 million geographic miles. The reason why exact distances cannot be given is that not one planet orbits always in exactly the same distance from the Sun. Instead, in one year the planet distances itself, while in another year it comes closer to the Sun, and the greater or lesser distance determines the temperature differences. And you can be assured that, of 77 orbits, not even 2 orbits as far as the distance from the Sun is concerned are completely the same. Since we have completed the distances, we will now determine the diameter of Saturn, as well as the circumference, its surface in square miles, and its content in cubic miles. The diameter of Saturn is 17,263 geographic miles. The Earth, in comparison, is only 1,719 geographic miles. This will give you an idea by how much Saturn is larger. Saturn's circumference is 54,515 geographic miles. The surface is 936,530,820 square geographic miles. The cubic content of Saturn is 2,757,547,946,775 cubic geographic miles. Therefore, Saturn is approximately 1,037 times larger than Earth. For one orbit around the Sun, Saturn requires 29 years, 164 to 166 days, 2 hours and 2 seconds. Everything which can be counted as far as Saturn itself is concerned has been determined. Since Saturn is surrounded by a double ring, this must also be more closely determined in the form of numbers. The diameter of the entire ring is 40,006 geographic miles. Since the ring actually consists of 2 rings, the distance from the surface of the inner ring to the inner surface of the outer ring is 545 geographic miles. The diameter of the outer ring, that is, from the outside to the inside, is 1,350 geographic miles. And the diameter of the inner ring, measured in the same manner, is 3,850 geographic miles, since the outer ring as well as the inner ring are elliptical, oviform. That is, if you cut through the ring, it has the shape of an egg. The diameter of the outer ring at the girth is 130 geographic miles. The inner ring has within itself 3 semi-divides, each of which is 20 to 30 geographic miles. These divides are called semi-divides because they do not divide the entire second ring completely, the way the outer ring is separated from the inner ring. These 3 semi-divides are filled with nothing but oviform spheres, which have a diameter large enough to enable these spheres to form only one ring. However, there is a space where these divides are, It goes inward like an arched-in pyramid, from below upwards and from above downwards, through the entire ring. These strings of spheres in these 3 semi-divides have caused many keen-sighted astronomers to assume that this ring is composed merely of many moons, because through a telescope it has the appearance of a rosary. But this is not the case. Instead, they are merely many small spheres. As far as further details in regards to the structure of the ring is concerned, these will be explained later on. Now we will take a brief look at the moons of this planet. Seven moons of various sizes orbit Saturn. They orbit at different distances from Saturn. Note 1. According to the current scientific paradigm, there are 10 moons orbiting Saturn. However, 3 of them are actually asteroids. The first moon, which is the closest and at the same time the smallest of the moons, is only 120 geographic miles in diameter, and the distance from Saturn is 28,840 geographic miles. This distance is the mean distance. The second moon has a diameter of 240 geographic miles and is at a distance of 40,516 geographic miles from Saturn. The third moon has a diameter of 666 geographic miles and is at a distance of 60,500 geographic miles from Saturn. The fourth moon has a diameter of 699 geographic miles and is at a distance of 87,920 geographic miles from Saturn. The fifth moon has a diameter of 764 geographic miles and is at a distance of 190,000 geographic miles from Saturn. The sixth moon has a diameter of 900 geographic miles and is at a distance of 277,880 geographic miles from Saturn. The seventh moon has a diameter of 1,120 geographic miles and is at a distance of 360,920 geographic miles from Saturn. From the information which you have been given so far, you may conclude that this celestial body, by virtue of its size, its different structure, and also by virtue of its 7 moons, plays an important role in the realms of creation. Because the more artfully a mechanic constructs his work, the more multifarious must be the purpose of such a work. And just like the mechanic who has incorporated various determinations in an artful work in order to attain various purposes, I, as the greatest mechanic in the universe, would not place such a celestial body so artfully into the vastness of space without a great significant purpose. Since I consider even the smallest particle of solar dust to be significant, how much more important must a celestial body such as this great planet be? I did not create it to be a mere toy. As a consequence of this revelation regarding this celestial body, you will be taught its purpose from such a sublime aspect that it will rob you of your breath. You were already surprised and experienced certain emotions when I revealed the moon. Note 1. This information can be found in Earth and Moon by Jakob Lorber. But how will you react when you travel to this celestial body with me for a little while? All I can say is that you will experience great things, therefore, prepare yourself. You will hardly believe what you will see. Whenever I reveal such great things, the only beings that belong are beings who have a big heart in order to comprehend and honor this greatness. Once you have received all the information about this celestial body, insofar as it is possible for you to comprehend, then you will begin to appreciate the meaning of the verse in the Bible which states, "Eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him." No human eye has seen, no human ear has heard, and never has it entered into a man's heart or mind, that which God has prepared for those that love him. Whoever receives something from me will always receive the highest gift of heaven, because I am the highest of all in heaven, in the universe, and in all worlds. And should I reveal to you heaven or hell, one as well as the other will at all times contribute to your blissfulness. Whatever my word may imply, it is alive throughout, and makes the one who receives it and accepts it in all love, gratitude, humility, and in living belief, eternally alive, and thereby already within me, here as well as in the beyond, and through this preference extremely blissful.